A positive association between patriotism and environmentalism. However, the correlation between them has not yet been quantitatively verified. Now, this program aims to reveal the effects of good patriotism and social consideration on the pro-environmental attitudes and behaviors, and the mediating effect of the social consideration on the relationship between patriotism and the pro-environmental attitudes and the behaviors, while removing national or political prejudice or ideology from the measurement of patriotism. Now, the effect of good patriotism on individual pro-environmental attitudes and behaviors is clearly different from that of blind nationalism. Individuals with good patriotism are assumed to possess high pro-environmental concerns and beliefs regarding their country, as national loyalty leads people to feel a moral obligation to preserve their country. Environmental activists typically work to protect and preserve the places they love, and individuals with a strong national identity generally help further their country's development and welfare. To bring this conversation home with me today, I have Mr. Muhumure Roderick, a lead researcher in environment at the Hub Uganda, and we will have Mr. Muhwezi Bruno, the Secretary of Published at the Environmental Still Hub Uganda, and we have Aliana Leka Joanita, the Assistant Lead Researcher. These are students from Chambogo University, but they're still working with the Patriotism Secretariat. And this program is powered by the National Secretariat Patriotism Corps Uganda. I'm Andrew Chamagero. Join this conversation on Twitter and the other digital platforms with the hashtag Uganda First. Good morning and good to have you.
Good morning. Pleasure having
Joanita and Roderick.
Yes.
I'm going to start off with Joanita here. What do you understand by patriotism, Joan?
Well, patriotism, from the entire picture that, you know, we all have as laymen and elites, is the love for one's country. So with the love for one's country, obviously your country comprises of your surrounding, right? And your surrounding comprises your environment. You cannot have a Uganda minus an environment, lest you will tell me you're living in air, of which even air itself is part of our environment. So patriotism generally, from just on a basic ground, it's love for one's country, right? And so if it's love for one's country, today we come on the key subject of environment, right? So that means you have to have the passion for your environment if at all you're to qualify yourself as a patriot. Oh. That's my basic understanding of patriotism.
Pretty much good. Roderick,
yes.
What does the Environmental Hub Uganda do?
Well, Environmental Hub Uganda, basically, it is a project that we have brought on board and typically focusing on the environment. We have looked at the status quo. What's the status quo comprising of? What are the negative effects? The things that we do to survive, to earn a living, but we are leaving negative effects on the environment. Yet we are affecting, it's like a baby in the womb affecting that womb, that fetus. So when we affect the environment, we are literally affecting ourselves. But like most probably, you find most Africans and Ugandans in particular, we do not have the know of what to do so that we can revivify what we've done. So in the concept, Environmental Hub Uganda comes in with a lot of ideas, but particularly for this talk show, we are focusing on ideology change first, and that's how we are partnering with the Patriotism Corps, because we want to change the people's mindset, bring them on board, like this is what Environmental Hub is going to do. And before we do anything, before you put up any activity to the community, you have to first make sure this activity is bought by the people. You change their mindset.
What is the mindset now when you look at the people? Now, what is the mindset? What do you see?
Yeah, the mindset, this is what people think of. That is to bring it to the layman's language.
What are they thinking?
Yeah, someone
looking at the environment.
Yeah, we are looking at the environment.
What are the people looking, what are they thinking about the environment?
Very many people actually do not know about the environment. They're ignorant about the environment. So our role is to first inform them, make them learn and unlearn what they were thinking of. Now, going to your question, what they're thinking about the environment is that people see the environment particularly as forests and lakes. That's what they see as the environment.
Swamps. Yes,
swamps, that's it. Now, when you look at the nitty-gritties of the environment, this is the air. The air we breathe, it's part of the environment. The water we drink, and also the vegetation, not just forests, but even the green belts around. That is the environment. So now, as Environmental Hub, we look at that, and then we are going to talk to the people. Through ideology change, we encourage them, we'll be like, okay, you look here. This is what you are thinking about the environment, which is maybe you have to cut down trees to get firewood, to get charcoal. You have to buy caviar and dump it anywhere. But now we are coming with alternatives. And now these alternatives, they're not rocket science. These are things that we have developed from what we have been using. Like now it's simple. We know briquettes. So this is something that we can do so that we create an alternative, not just talking to people about the alternative, yet you are not providing it. Now that's the difference that the Environmental Hub Uganda
is actually doing.
Yes.
Joan, you're dying to jump in.
Yeah.
Please carry on.
I'm dying to jump in because I think the perception that people have about the environment, is a biased perception. And time and again, we've seen people doing a lot of deforestation. Time and again, we've seen people doing a lot of cutting down of trees, basically to fend for themselves, get firewood or maybe get charcoal, and a lot more. But you see, that is a mindset and a perception that, like I said before, is pretty much biased. And as Environmental Hub, that is where we step in. And why do we step in with National Corps Patriotism? It's because they believe in the ideology of mindset change. We have seen situations in which we are having organizations and walks and talks about the need for us to plant trees, but we cannot go ahead and keep planting the trees and growing the trees, especially if the community's mindset is actually not yet pro-environment, pro-protection of environment. I mean, if at all we keep saying we need to grow trees in a bid to probably curb climate change or to carry out reforestation, then we are going to end up in a situation in which the people are not going to buy that concept. So we need to first change their mind that, you see, when you cut a tree, feel free to replant, plant one to replace anyway, because these are the benefits that you get from it. You realize. So that is why we come out with that idea of why don't we work on the mindset first, the mindset of the youth, the mindset of the old. You realize, such that at the end of the day, we can be in a position where we can curb the effects that we see arising out of these things that we actually do by ourselves. I mean, Mother Nature does not need us, but we need Mother Nature.
That's true.
So why not protect our environment?
When you're at the university, at Chambogo University, and even other conversations you've had with your land friends, especially the youth, what is the problem with our mindset for the youth?
The problem with the youth's mindset is the fact that the environment cannot help them get anything. I mean, everyone wants a white-collar job, right? Where you can sit in an office and maybe have your chauffeur bring for you tea and a lot other stuff. But that, like I previously said, it's a lot of bias, right? So that is one conversation that I've had with quite other youths, a number of youths out there.
But do they understand environment as the youth?
Do they understand? They understand the environment, as Verdict said, near trees, the swamps, the lakes. That is what they consider as the environment. But the environment is more than that. Yes.
Well, Roderick, coming back to you, when we look at the entire understanding of our people, especially the youth, I'm grateful you guys at the university are doing a tremendous job. We really want to commend you on that. But when you look at the environment, where does environmental activism plug in patriotism?
Oh, now, as I told you, first of all, our motto is nature's peace. So we're advocating at nature's peace. And what is nature? So looking at nature is something that is surrounding us. We are part of it, and it is part of us. If you have to look at the basic, maybe core principles of patriotism, one, there is environmental protection. And we shall not protect the environment when we cannot come and talk about the environment. The environment, this is something that cannot speak. So we come out and speak for it. So we've sacrificed ourselves. That's why we are calling it a patriotic duty for us, because we are not looking for any monetary gain. We are not looking for something, maybe a show of business, something. No. This is something that cannot speak, and we are ready to speak for it. For instance, look at the River Nile. If we keep quiet about it, if we don't tell people about the effects of River Nile, it is going to be depleted. It is going to get done when we are just watching. So now it is our duty to call upon all the other Ugandans, talk to them and be like, if we come and talk for it, that's when other people get their attention, and then they will come to this. Even I'll further link you something more to the mission that we have. This is to promote community involvement in creating a sustainable environment for generations. Now, look, there are two aspects in this mission. It's very amazing. we are promoting community involvement. It's not us alone. It's you. It's them. It's any other person, not just specifically us. And if they're part of us, if they're part of the system, if we are moving together as one block, we are looking at something that now, which is leading us to the second point, creating environmental sustainability for generations. It's not just looking at us, the present life. Yes, we are okay, we are doing everything great, but we are looking at for our children, those at our great-grandchildren to come. What effects are they going to find that we've left? Look here, like with the causes of global warming right now, we are having a lot of problems with food production. So now, if we don't do something today, I'm sure tomorrow we'll regret. And in everything you do as an environmentalist, more so who is a patriot, you have to consider that someone should never blame you. Play your role at the right time. Now, that's why we come up as Environmental Hub. We have looked at the status quo, as I earlier told you, as Jonathan has been telling you, and we want to change the status quo. We have to address what is the problems that we are facing. Not that we are going, like I had said, to bring something strange, or maybe we are going to develop something from abroad and bring it here.
You're not really writing the will.
It's not that. So this is community involvement. We do simple things that people do not take cautious of. People do not consider these simple things that actually make real life. These are the things that can transform the community, can transform the society. For example, there are these bottles. You're all aware of them.
Plastic ones.
Yeah, plastic bottles, actually water bottles. They always have this simple plastic, like a polythene thing at the top, sealing it. Very many people don't take account of that thing. They just buy water, they will remove and just throw it. For him, he's looking at something that will pollute the environment as the bottle, not that thing that he has thrown. Look at that thing you've thrown can stop a bean seed from germinating, can leave something. Assume there are many, because I'm sure they are produced in tons. So those things can block a certain sewage pipe somewhere. And these are the problems we are facing in our cities and even in our homes. So if we consider to first transform people, like those small things we are doing, you may be doing some simple agriculture at your home, but are you doing it in a very great way? Are you doing it in a way that is going to be sustainable, produce for your food, and also earn something? So the environment with patriotism, it shows that we are not looking for anything big, but we are doing it for the love of our country. And if we love our country, we love our neighbors, we love our forests, we love our rivers, and that's how patriotism blends in with environmental activism. I
love that. Joan, when he says that we're doing it for the love of our country, I want to be, he is idealistically right.
True.
But as a youth, I have to survive.
I understand.
Do the youth see the opportunities in the environmental activism? Are there opportunities they can possibly look at them and they say, well, there is opportunity A, I can actually be a researcher, I can be you know, a tutor about this and that, besides the workshops where they're traveling around the world. I don't know what they are doing when they're traveling, because they're using, again, fossil fuels again. But they change their own communities, tapping into the opportunities at hand.
Well, do the youths have opportunities that they can venture in when it comes to matters of environment? Definitely yes, 100% yes. But it's just that they have a biased mindset, like I said before. That is something that we seek to address. There are several opportunities that the environment itself provides.
Like?
It wouldn't hurt if you ventured into making briquettes, because it would be a solution to deforestation in a bid to get charcoal. Lately in Chambogo, a girl managed to venture into the aspect of using plastics to actually make blocks, building blocks. It wouldn't hurt if the youth ventured into that. I think that a lot of times, like I said before, the concept of I need a white collar job as a youth is what has actually deviated us. But there's so many opportunities. It would not hurt if a youth ventured into regenerative agriculture, which probably you could use cow dung urine, you know, to make fertilizers. It is actually very healthy and very organic. It would not hurt. It would not hurt if a youth ventured into the use of cow dung itself to make manure. You know, probably you could dry the cow dung and make dry manure out of it, which eventually you could even export. So I think at the end of the day, when the youths get to realize that there are actually very beautiful opportunities that the environment provides, then that is when you will see a lot of them coming into this direction.
Why have the youth then, from your school of thought, why have the youth failed to see the opportunities?
It's because of the bias that they have.
Okay.
They have a lot of bias. Everyone thinks that I need a white collar job. I will not get tired of saying that. Everyone thinks I need to sit in an executive office. I will not get tired of saying that. But I mean, you will not sit in an executive office and watch your environment burn, because at the end of the day, you will burn along with your environment. Okay.
Roderick.
Yes.
A few months ago, there was a group of young youth, and they were they ambushed the president of France, Macron.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the EACOP, the East African oil pipeline, and how it's going to degrade the environment and all.
Yeah.
These people, they say they did this because they love the environment, and so they love the country. In your context or your perspective, were they patriotic? Because they had a good cause. But was it right?
Now, that's an interesting question. You see, the EACOP, there is something. Now, as I'll first dig you deep to Environmental Hub Uganda, why we have come up. This is to address such issues. When you're going to do something, you first think about the opportunity cost, that is to take you to economics. So if you look at, we need EACOP, we need the oil, we need to save our economy, but we need the environment as well. Now, as Environmental Hub Uganda, look here, these are, we like literally two of us here and other members out there, we are majors in environmental science, technology and management. So we studied things in detail. And now it's not us to just study and pass through the system. It's study, analyze, get the basics, and then come and tell the community. Some people just talk because they're ignorant. They don't know. So now, when we look at that aspect, what you have talked of, the EACOP vis-a-vis the environment, the EACOP is wanted. But now, maybe the best way they could have done it, bring out the best alternatives. How can it be done without affecting the environment? Because these things are here. That's why we are calling ourselves researchers, if we are doing research.
So this was covered in the ASIA report.
No, you
but
see,
these said the environmentalists who had not read the ASIA report.
Let me tell you about something. There is always the environmental impact assessment of any project to be done. We are all versed with that. So did they read that environmental impact assessment? It provides everything. It shows the problem and what is going to be done after. Maybe they did not read it very well, or if they read it, they did not understand it. Maybe in most cases, things are written in a very technical form. Now that's why Environmental Hub comes in, to break down those hard things and explain to the people. If you are like, okay, we are going to do this, we're going to create this one here. I'm looking at the pipeline flowing. If we agree with modern technology, it is coming. And as technology is advancing, environmentalists, we come on board. We cannot keep quiet, because the technology that is being developed should be environmental friendly. Now that's why we are telling you we are going to involve the community. If we go and talk to these people, maybe these people, I'm sure in most cases that those reports are not published to the media in most cases. But if they could get a chance and access them, and now we are here to explain, to lay down everything to the people. Only that some people do not come to ask some people, they just choose to. Someone wakes up with his own mindset and then they just do something.
Joan, you want to jump into that?
Yes, I think I will. And it's just from the direction of the impact assessments that are done. Obviously, the impact assessment, like for instance, in relation to the crude oil pipeline and the entire crude oil process was done by environmental scientists. So they know these things. They know the fact that there is oil versus the environment. And I'm quite sure that if someone has taken keynote or time to actually read those impact assessments, you realize that some of the conditionalities and the recommendations that were put in those impact assessments is the fact that, you know what, when you're done with the oil drilling and the oil process, you know, care to revive the environment the way you found it prior to the oil production. And so I wouldn't want to disagree with the fact that it was a patriotic move, but a patriotic move in what context? Sometimes people cover themselves under the pretext of patriotism, right? And so it's not an idea that I would buy from them, because I think they needed to also be considerate and look at the economy vis-a-vis the environment, but also consider the fact that we have people, scientists, environmental scientists, who have already made these recommendations, these necessary recommendations to the companies that are going to involve themselves in the oil production. And some of those recommendations are pretty much clear. But if they felt that there was need for them to have a sort of environmental protection, then I don't think that production of crude oil is actually the biggest contributor to environmental degradation or to the harming of the environment itself. We humans are actually the biggest contributor. Roderick just gave an example. We remove, yes, of the bottle seal. We remove them, and you know, we keep throwing them. And I mean, the English saying is very clear: one by one does what? Makes a bundle. Yes. And what will the bundle do at the end of the day? It will pollute the soil. It will pollute the sewage systems. You will have a lot of flooding, and at the end of the day, you still want to come and blame oil, which is actually just a minor contributor.
Now that brings me to another question, Juanita, here.
Yes, please.
Where do we draw the line then between positive patriotism and blinded patriotism? Because I believe that was blinded patriotism in my school of thought. And they were doing something incredible. They were fighting for the environment. And when I knew I was having environmentalists, I said, finally, we have some people here to give us answers.
Yes.
So where do we draw the line between blind patriotism and positive patriotism?
It all comes in the concept of mindset. A lot of time people have, you know, perceived patriotism as a political kind of, you know, branding, to specifically, sorry for going to the political direction, but that is what a lot of people have tended to think. But like I said earlier on, patriotism is all about the love for your country. And like I said, the environment comprises your country. But then we need to learn to be able to draw lines like you've requested. And these lines can basically be drawn by our ability to understand. We need to understand that there are situations that will come out, and yes, they will affect our environment, but we also need to know that it is the moral obligation of not just the government, but ourselves. So when it comes to blinded patriotism and real patriotism itself, it's all about understanding and mindset. Like I said, we do not have to perceive patriotism. We do not have to come out and, you know, raise placards and say we are protecting. We want our environment to be protected, and yet it's under the pretext of, you know, patriotism, and yet I mean, like, the real idea behind you or the real ideology that you have is actually a political kind of move. It is very unfair, it is very tarnishing, and I think on a scale of 1 to 10 I would give it 9. It's the basic reason as to why we have so many youths out there who have, you know, desisted from patriotism itself. And yet patriotism, you know, preaches the gospel of the mindset change, and in this particular case we are looking at mindset change in terms of environmental protection. So we need to be able to distance ourselves from the, you know, entire fallacy that patriotism is all about political moves, and be sincere with what we are doing. We need to be sincere. I think sincerity and honesty matters a lot in all this.
Roderick, this brings me to another question. Do you believe that some of the youths of this country, some of the youth in this country, are being used by external forces to disrupt the patriotism agenda we have as a country?
Well,
in the context of that particular activism you saw,
yes, I'm going to address, before you are used, like, by some external forces, I will say, one, what do you know, and which move do you provide? I will not come out of nowhere and decide to use you. That means you have shown me a way I can use you, so I'll come and be able to use you. Now, to avoid those problems of people being used and everything, here we have to first look at the methodology of approach we use, especially when addressing environmental problems. Now, when those people, there are people who have, like, the mindset as we talked about it. Someone will be like, me, if I want to protect the environment, I'll just write a banner, right? Stop ECOP, something like that. And that is not patriotism. Because patriotism is like, okay, if ECOP is like this, if these people who are drawing this had these loopholes, how do we address them? One, go and make research. Like, come consult the people who are maybe like the technical people in a certain field, identify solutions and then bring them on board. Now that is patriotism. Just going maybe for somewhere, that is where I can say some people just go maybe to gain popularity or something, but not create real solutions. Real solutions are associated with patriotism. You love your country. If you don't want to see maybe this pipeline affecting people, you come up, draw a plan, because we need the economy. You know that. And without the economy, there's no environment, because people are going to come, like, cutting down trees for firewood, and yet gas is cheaper. Like, environmental friendship, gas is cheaper than firewood. So people can choose to go for gas. So to avoid those problems, we have to address the methodology of approach. And now that's why we are focusing on, before we address other things, let's first change the mindset of the people. Let's go and talk to these people on ground level. Let's teach them. If you really love the environment, you can do something. Look at, okay, like in most homes we stay around, even in our own homes, how do we deposit? Let's start from that. Even like in my own home, if I thought I buy something maybe from any supermarket, any mall, how am I going to deposit?
You can still afford the supermarket, Roderick. Where do you get the money? Times are hard, we're in the market. But I hear you.
Yes, yes. So you see, if you believe God provides.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So now, when you go out there and you are maybe you buy something, they're going to pack with you in Uvera. You will take them home. Now you as an individual, now that's why we call it like an individual patriotic protocol. So if you are like, no, these Uveras are becoming too much or too many in my home, let me get a shopping bag. This is something that is going to last for years, not just everyday Kavera. What are you going to buy from the market? These are tomatoes. You can mix them with onions. There is nothing big. So we minimize the Kavera take home. And also, even when the Kavera is there, we can also look at how we would like deposit it off. Just create simple things. Get these simple baskets. Place the decomposables there and the non-decomposables somewhere. That is the simple way that you are going to do.
When it gets to the issue of the mindset, like you're saying, I really want to dive into it because the patriotism, and by the way, this program is powered by the National Secretariat Patriotism Corps, making sure that we Ugandans, we understand the value of this conversation, not only here, but equally the country. What kind of motors or vehicles of information are you using to reach the last mile on the ground?
Before we go like to reach the last mile on the ground, we are on grassroots. We are students who are not maybe from executive places. No, we are on ground already. So we are basing on what we've seen, what we have learned from our tradition culture, like the environmental friendly activities that our ancestors were doing, that we have maybe diverted from, and we are tending to go to other things that we do not understand. So that's what we are basing on. These are basic things that we know at home. If at all they tell you like, I'll divert you into agriculture, because we have also a regenerative agriculture plan on our agenda. So now, how are you going to do mulching? You are going to come, cut down grass, do mulching. That is simple way of conserving the soil. Look here, you can have your cows. There is cow dung. This is something that you can collect and keep your soil secure. Instead of going for these other fertilizers, they have also effects. As an environmentalist, I would say that they have very diverse effects on the environment. So there is the way we shall go to these people is not maybe in something that is technical or something. We are going to develop what we have.
From the grassroots? From
the grassroots, because we're already based on grassroots.
I really love that. Yes. Joan, what is bringing about the, excuse me, what is bringing about the information gap between people like you and people in the villages, that they cannot possibly see what you see, they cannot understand and process what you understand, and how do we bridge that in the spirit of patriotism?
In the spirit of patriotism, that's a very lovely conclusion. So for starters, I think one of the basic reasons as to why we are having a lot of information gap is the fact that a lot of times we've tended to communicate the issues relating to environment in a language that is not actually universal. Do you think English is universal?
It's not.
It's not universal.
They have brought Swahili. Do you think Swahili is universal?
It's not. Exactly. Yes. So we have a tendency of communicating these things that relate to the environment in a language that is not universal. And I wouldn't want to say that we have a language that is universal, because even when you fly out in other places, they use French, they don't use English. So my whole point is we need to do a breakdown of how we communicate. We need to begin communicating in different languages. We need to, if you go to the north, maybe the common language there is Luo. So we need to begin communicating in the language that the common man in maybe specific regions will understand. If you go to the west, it could be Runyankole, Rutoro, to mention but a few, the central Uganda, the east you will find Lusoga, Gisu. So I think that we need to begin to package this information in a way that will be best understood by the local man out there. And I think that will be one of the stepping stones into achieving this entire process of environmental activism. If you go and tell the layman out there that you see Omero, Dong.
Take it in the whole language.
Yes,
take it in the whole language.
In the whole language. Okay, so apparently I'm going to use Luo because
please, it's fine.
Yes.
Patriotism, so, we are.
Patriotic we are. So Omero making sure ni mono planting. I'm so sorry. It don't yat mukene ka ingolo yat moni chani me yupo maka. Omiringe ben ni mono iromu teach ki cow dung me yupo manure mano ingo idonki guana ni layata ni bo ni me watch ne just manok. So literally what I'm trying to say is that the layman out there should know that you can use cow dung as manure to, you know, to manure your crops, like to grow the cassava, the sweet potatoes, and it will not hurt. So yes, today I've done something very simple. I have not done it in the best way possible. You will pardon me, but I think that the message is clear. The picture that I'm trying to bring, that we're trying to bring as an environmental hub in partnership with Patriotism Corps, is that we need to demystify this information in the best possible way ever. And how can that be done? It's by going to the people in their local languages.
Then I come back to you, Roderick. Do you think the media is doing such an incredible job to bring this down to them? Be very honest. Don't get scared because we're here. See, we are fixing the country here now.
Now, the media is doing something good. I know very good exists, but they're using something good. Now, it is in the concept, one, how, like the way you program shows. One, in most cases, we do not focus on the environment. We focus on other things that I will not talk about.
Politics.
Exactly. So what is
just this thing? I don't know. I wrote you're being too.
No, like what is taking the headlines?
Politics.
Someone is going to bring something on board. Like this is maybe taking something very big on. In case a political move happened, that would take the headlines. If an environmental move happened, that would come in the final towards that last segment was something like that. So if we could do that, like the media, that's the approach we are coming up with. Actually, we are going to address you on that as environmental hub. We actually are going to engage you, and then we say we can do that. And when the environmental activities, in most cases, these people are not captured, or the media presses a fee for someone who is environmental. Look here, the environment is not for us. It's for you. For you to survive is something that you need. I'll draw an example. There's a concept of dustbins around. One, if you go in most places, you realize dustbins are a problem, yet they're very cheap. Like someone is walking around your building, and maybe I have a cavera I've bought somewhere, or maybe anything that I want to dispose of. So someone will look around and be like, hey, where is it? It's nowhere. Now, if the media could come on and be like, okay, just do like, you have the authority. You can make that simple market survey. Like you go to different places, what's the distribution of dustbins in accordance to the population? You realize there's a very big gap. Now, even that is a way of communicating to the community. Like now we can come on board and be like, okay, as an environment hub, we're going to distribute dustbins. Yes, but eventually when we are students, we are in need, we need some assistance somewhere, because if you are going to distribute according to this number, that like kicks us off like maybe the economic area. So if we do that, the communication is not all by going and speaking. That's why I told like for us we are a bit action. Actually, we are more action oriented. We come, we have studied this, we have done the practicals at the university, so we use that as a base to come and develop some things, and we bring them on ground. They are practical. This is something that man can do.
They can do. Like
this is a dustbin you are going to provide at the in the marketplace. Some people do very many drives, and we appreciate them. We are happy they are doing something good, because at least a little something good.
Just need more amplification.
Yes. So now if someone comes and cleans up the market, cleans up the road, cleans up something, those things are happening out there. But they don't leave the alternative. You're going to clean and people again dump.
Because there is no alternative.
There's no alternative.
Well, then that will take us for a very simple short commercial break, and when we return, more conversations about environmentalism, activism in tandem with patriotism. This program is powered by the...
A lot of opportunities for the government to release so that I can benefit. But after the training at CAS, my mindset was changed totally. And one of the things that had piqued interest, it was the urban farming. But unfortunately, when you look at the area that I come from, it is a crowded place and we don't own the land. It is a layer land. So I had to leave urban farming and came and looked at the place where everyone could undermine. So me, I used to drink water and just throw the bottle and the cover anyhow, anywhere. And a lot of shops, when the people, after taking the water, they just take the water and throw the bottles anyhow. But in the training that we had, one of the facilitators trained us how to use and save the environment. One was when you use the water, when you're going to take the water and open the bottle, you can use this cover and put it somewhere. You just squeeze it and then put it somewhere so that you don't throw it anyhow. When it rains, these bottles just go direct and blocks the drainages. And the floods just go into our houses, our mother houses. So this causes the diseases. When you look at some of the diseases that they talk about, like diarrhea, cholera, they come from the places we are born from. They come from Namuongo, they come from Kasambu, they come from Soweto. And these are the places that are highly populated with number of people. So we had to collect these bottles every day. So after collecting these bottles, we go into the drainages, we go into the rubbish pits, and we separate them. So after separating these bottles, we go and sell them. So we decided to use those rubbish that people undermine. People take like things that are useless out of store to get money. So these charcoals that you see, we use the banana peels and the cassava peels and the maize peels. We dry them and then make charcoal. We earn money from this. One charcoal is at 2,000. And we sell this to the people that have small restaurants in the community. So me as a person, I benefit through the earnings I get in the charcoal. And secondly, my confidence increased, so I can do a lot of things apart from this one. When you look outside, we also have the plastic bottles that we get from the rubbish. We separate the plastic bottles and then we sell. That's why you can see a lot of things here we can do that people cannot do out there. Because what really limits those people to do it is because they lack knowledge and skills. So me, I was able to get the skills and knowledge from Kazi and also gained self-esteem and confidence. For those who never got a chance to go to Kazi and those who have interests, they should be with the confidence, number one. Secondly, they should not undermine each and everything. If they join their efforts together and do something that can help them to fight poverty, rather than looking at their parents and the government to come and help them out.
I got to know about patriotism and being part of it in my second year at university. Going for the trainings personally, I got knowledge, I got enlightened about very many things, especially job creation, which has to be done by someone whose mindset keeps to be evolving always. And also the role of the youth in the socio-economic transformation of Uganda. I was a person who was very much interested in things to do with environmental conservation. So that was the major morale for starting the tree project. I started with a specific tree type. It's a fruit tree called soursop. Locally it's called a chitaferi. But basically, I started it to sensitize people to engage themselves in tree planting as an activity that helps to conserve the environment. It's a nursery bed. It's a tree nursery for the podo cap tree. Actually, locally, this tree is called, some call it podo. Others in Luganda is called musenene. And it's one that's used to make the long drums. Yeah, in Galavi. Yeah, but it has it grows like pine. I think its maturity comes at about 12 to 15 years. It's a slow growing tree when you compare it to fast growing tree species like eucalyptus. I really feel now that I have a role to play as a person to the economic development of my country, socio-economic development of my country. Actually, there is an American president who once said that, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So I believe that with the knowledge I got, I'm much more equipped to help myself, help the people of my community to make this country a better place.
Those are some of the submissions from those lucky Ugandans who were in Kazi for the mindset change. We've been joined by Bruno, still from the Environmentalist Hub. Good to see you, Bruno.
Good to be here too.
We have been having a conversation about environmental patriotism. In the context of this, you as a youth, are we doing enough to actually use the environment as a tool to exhibit patriotism?
Thanks for the question. Basically, you asked if we are doing enough. It's really worrying we are still at the starting point of saving this environment.
Okay, how bad is it?
It is at a point where it is really, you can see that these days we are having high temperatures. We are having very many industries coming in, which is not bad, but there are some things that are not followed up, emissions that are going into the air, trees are being cut rampantly, and this is basically a point which we are trying to address, is that it's a mindset change. People are not cautious about the environment.
Are you conscious?
I am really
How many trees have you planted since they have begun?
Since they have begun, I think I've planted 3.
3?
Yes.
How many have you planted?
I've equally planted 3 because we did it as a project. So what we managed to get...
So without a project, how many would have you planted?
I would have planted a lot more. Actually, in my village, I do tree planting along with my dad.
Oh,
yes.
Your dad is intentional. Bruno, coming back to you, environment goes far beyond just the trees and the conservation and all.
Yeah.
Let's look at the broader picture of being an environmentalist, amplifying the conversation of patriotism. Do you think families have done enough, like fathers and mothers, have they done enough to bring this conversation to the core next generation? If ours has failed, can we be proud and say, well, we were crooked, but they are right now, the ones coming?
Yeah, thank you so much. About that, the families have really not done enough, but our time is now. There is no better time to start rather than now. You can't say you didn't plant a tree. That is a gone case. Do it now. Our major aim is not on planting a tree. Now let us look at some simple things that people can do. We associate with fellow youths. Let me take for instance our fellow youths. You're associating with your fellow youth, you go to maybe a canteen or a shop somewhere, you purchase a drinking water bottle. After the person drinking, there is an inscription on that water bottle that you throw it in the trash can. But this friend, after using the bottle, just throws it anyhowly. That really shows that we have not been brought up with a sense of the environment. Our mindset is not connected to saving the environment. So practically, even if we plant these trees, as people are cutting them down for firewood without a sense of saving them, it is really not balancing.
Bruno, everyone who is on this set, they keep talking about mindset. Yes. And the Patriotism Corps so understands that equally that could be our underlying core as to why we're having all these challenges.
Yes.
What are we going to do with the youth? How are we going to change this mindset? Now, for yours, the context is with the environment, but looking at it as an overhaul, what do we need to do from household level to the national level?
I think we just really need to always, we're brought up in families where even if you do something wrong, you're still part of the family. We have to accept these are the kinds of people we have. But let us go preaching out to these people. In case whoever has listened to this show, maybe whoever has had an idea about saving the environment, you're with someone, talk to that someone. Tell them, do not do this. Do not just throw the Cavera or the plastic bottle anyhowly. Do not do this when there are projects of planting trees. Let us all try to engage in such projects. Let us always dispose of our wastes well. It starts with all of us. It starts with an individual.
Bruno, that is from the environment context.
Yes, please.
Take it a little bit deeper. What we need to do as a country to change the entire mindset, because that's with the environment, which I totally appreciate. But what should we do as countrymen to change, especially our young generation, we the youth?
Let us start with our homes.
What should we do in our homes?
Our homes, let us dispose of wastes well. Let us groom these people, these children that are coming up. Let us groom them in a way that they really do not just dispose of wastes. We can start with simple wastes, like let's start with simple wastes that can even be disposed of, decompose. When you're cooking at home, after cutting your other wastes, maybe your goods you have bought, you're going to prepare, dispose of such plastics, whereas in a plastic bag, or more so like homes really do not use these trash cans, but they use sacks. Some can use sacks. You can dispose of your items in sacks. This can help, such that in case the people that are coming to collect, or the people that collect in your home village, at least they will dispose of that whole sack of items that are disposed of, the wastes, and they will put them in the landfill or something where they dispose of them. Then the municipal council will be able to collect that rubbish from that area to take it to another area where they are treated or recycled. So that's how it can be done.
Thank you so much, Bruno.
Can I just add in something small?
Please.
So this year we had the incorporation of the parish development model. I think that's a space.
But did you understand the parish development model?
Well, it was not explained into details, but from what I understood as a layman in that relation,
yes.
allow me to be exact, in that relation is the fact that money is going to be given to different parishes. And you see, let's venture into projects that, you know, will benefit us as a parish. So a simple request that I will make to the relevant authorities is...
They're watching. Tell them.
Yes. I am requesting the relevant authority to make sure that in the parish development model, we incorporate environmentally friendly and suitable and economically beneficial activities that will benefit our societies. Because in the end, that is one of the best ways I feel that we can change the mindset. If you tell the Omuntu Wawansi,
yes.
I'm sorry, I do not speak Luganda fluently.
But
if
you're good.
But if you tell them that you see briquettes can be done, they're economically good, you will earn the cash that you need, you will get the charcoal that you need, and above all, you will protect the environment. I think they would literally embrace it with all their hearts. It pains me to the depth of my heart that, you know, these are some of the things that we take as minors, but they're actually very important. Like I said before, I will not get tired of saying that nature does not need us, but we need nature.
We need nature.
Yes.
Do you think the power that be in this country is willing to give us the support we need to push this conversation forward?
I think that, yes, the powers that are within this country are actually in the position to do that, but it's just that we need to brand it in the best possible way ever.
By branding, you mean?
By branding, I mean we need to talk about it a lot more. We need to package it in a way that will best be understood by the people. Another thing that, and another, I beg your pardon, another reason as why I think the powers have the capacities is because it is the moral obligation of the government to make sure that our safety is guaranteed. And for this particular case, the safety of we individuals in relation to the environment, because we are the genetic makeup of the environment.
Of course.
Yes.
Well, Bruno, then it brings me back to you as we're finalizing this conversation.
Yes.
Going forward, we talked about the opportunities the youth have in the under the environment spectrum. Do you think the youth are seeing these opportunities? If not, what is causing the blurry vision?
Yes, the youth, some of them, a few, are seeing these opportunities. A few.
Are they sharing the opportunities with others?
We are an example.
We are sharing. We are sharing.
But the ones you share these opportunities with, what are their beatitudes upon receiving this information?
Their attitude is positive. It just needs...
All of them?
Most of them. Their attitude is positive. Just that we have an issue of youths always looking up to money, monetary gain. It is a big problem that even when you tell them such an opportunity, because these activities are really, that's why we are talking about patriotism. They really need you to have love for your country.
Yeah. That you can sacrifice for your country.
You need to have love for your country. There is this thing that says like, this country, this earth, Mother Earth we are in, is not our place. It is something it is an inheritance of our great-grandchildren. We just borrowed it from them.
So what is our place?
Our place is this.
Heaven is the goal.
It's ours, but not completely ours. Because it's an inheritance.
So we have been given the earth by the previous generations to make best use of it.
Exactly.
To make best use of it, but leave it for the next generation. So in whatever we do, we have to leave this place safe for the next generation to also have a chance of it, have a piece of it. Let us not deteriorate this earth. So getting back to the point, when we are spreading these views or something to the fellow youths, you see them, many of them coming, but monetary gain is still a problem.
They're still asking Funidawa.
Yeah, they are like, we need something, oh, mfunida muwa, as the Luganda saying, mfunida muwa. So I think that is one thing. We should still be persistent and tell these people to engage in such activities, engage in anything that we bring up, because it's only time that can tell.
Jawan, when we go back to the Glasgow Convention of COP 2022, was it 21?
I think it was COP 2022.
Yeah.
22, yes.
When you look at the deliberations that were made as an environmentalist, what did you see? Did you see patriotism or Africanacity at its best when we're submitting as a continent, or when our negotiators were submitting as a country? What did you see there?
I think I saw an aspect of patriotism. Otherwise, we wouldn't have resolutions such as the superpowers, you know, sending a bit of funding to help us actually curb some of the environmental problems that we are currently facing. So I will, for starters, give credit to each and every delegate that went to represent Uganda in COP22. And I think, like I said before, one step at a time, eventually we will come out of these menace that we got ourselves into, and you know, create methodologies that can actually sustain our environment for future generations. And I think part of the resolutions that actually came out was the reduction of coal. Now, a study, I was on Twitter yesterday and I was scrolling through and I saw a tweet. I don't quite recall the organization, but it said that Africa is actually contributing 4% to the global change that we are actually currently experiencing, right? So by
the rest of the percentages with
it's by that. So I felt that the negotiations that were done during the COP22 were actually very good negotiations, and that is the reason as to why we had like resolutions such as reduction in coal production. And because I mean, you on a scale of 1 to 10, very few African countries, in fact like 3 or 2 African countries have the coal deposits. Most of those coal deposits are actually in European countries, the Americas, to mention but a few. And so the fact that it was resolved that those countries should actually reduce on their coal production and coal usage, it's in itself already beneficial to Africa. But as Africans, we also have another obligation that we need to, you know, sort of, I would probably say an additive that we need to, you know, put on what is already on ground and make sure that we achieve this goal.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the conversation is still ongoing. Uganda First, and today in studios I have really young tax, our generation. Someone has sent us some feedback, and the number of WhatsApp is actually online. Someone says, "Hi, comrade, thanks for the program. Environment has challenges because the national leaders are the ones destroying the environment, cutting down of trees to put their buildings, destroying wetlands. So when these so-called big leaders don't embrace environment related good practices, we are finished. We thank those members that are doing." Okwera Moses Mujisha, Chairman FDC, Nakawa environment activist. Okwera Moses is one of the good councillors in this town. Thank you so much, Okwera, for being a part of this conversation. If you have another message, kindly drop it on the WhatsApp. That is the number. And those on Twitter will pick your feedback a little later as we're finalizing this conversation. Bruno, going forward, what do we need to do as a country that we don't play blame games and we don't play victim cards, but find solutions that are lasting in the environmental spectrum but tapping into the environment, rather the patriotism model?
It's self-love.
What do you mean by self-love? You guys have let use words. I need to check the words, Kwanzaa. What do you mean by self-love here?
It's self-love. What do I mean? If you love yourself, you want to live happily. He who loves peace must love nature. Even if the government or anybody comes up and does anything related to the environment and you're not cautious and you don't love the nature, you don't love peace. Yeah. Nature's peace, like our motto goes, it's really saddening. So it's all about us. Let us have love for our country. Let us do all it takes to see that this country's environment is sustainable. We are in it, we are living happily, but let us not let it go to waste. It's all about us.
Jawan.
I think that it's high time as a country we began to draw lines between politics and the environment. We need to draw lines between the blues, the yellows, and the greens. Obviously, the greens do exist, and environment is, in most cases, symbolized by the green. But all I'm trying to say is that what kind of green? So it's high time we thought of, drawing those lines, and setting the boundaries clear, that we do not need to mix these issues, because at the end of the day, the political issues will not save our environment. The political rhetoric, let me be exact, will not save our environment. It will not create a sense of sustainability for future generations. So I'll apologize once again for taking the political direction, but I believe that all politicians who venture into politics in a bid to, lead the country, they have that moral obligation within themselves already of safety of citizens. Okay. So if it's safety of citizens, tell your supporters that, hey, you know what? Let's protect our environment. And when it comes to matters of environment, let's make the line so clear that it's not about red, it's not about yellow, it's not about the green, it's not about the purple.
It's about the country.
It's about the country.
Okay.
It's then that we can see the sense of patriotism coming up, the love for one's country.
Wow. Yes. Great conversations we've had this early morning, and we had in studio Mr. Muhumure Rodrigue, who happens to be an environmental hub researcher, and as well we had Muhwezi Bruno, still at the Environment Hub, and we had Aliana Leka Joanita. This conversation was powered by the National Secretariat of Patriotism Corps, and we want to urge you as a Ugandan, before you say the country has let you down, what have you let down the country with? What have you done for your country before you actually demand your country to actually bring this? Be an environmentalist within your area, and we make this conversation bigger. Someone has dropped a message. Let me read that message as we're finalizing. Big up stars, thanks for the brilliant messages. Gloria, thanks for being a part of this conversation. Till next Thursday, the question is, what are you doing for the country? Are you protecting enough of your country? Are you loyal to your country? Are you proud of your country? Are you putting out messages there that make your country marketable, or you're sabotaging the image of the country? I'm Andrew Chamagero. Good morning.